When the Bolsheviks seized power in the October Revolution of 1917, they did so on the promise of liberation for the oppressed peasants and workers of Russia. Central to their platform was the pledge to free the peasantry from the shackles of landowning aristocracy and institute socialist reforms aimed at redistributing land and wealth. However, as the fledgling Soviet government grappled with the challenges of civil war and internal dissent, the peasants' initial support for the Bolsheviks waned, culminating in open revolt by 1920. The promise of liberation. For centuries, the Russian peasantry had borne the brunt of feudal oppression under the autocratic rule of the Tsars and the exploitative system of serfdom. When the Bolsheviks swept into power, their message of emancipation struck a chord with the long-suffering peasants, who eagerly embraced the prospect of land reform and social justice. The Bolsheviks' promise to abolish private land ownership and redistribute land to the peasantry resonated deeply in the countryside, igniting hopes of a brighter future for rural Russia. War, communism, and the peasants' plight. However, the Bolsheviks' pursuit of war communism to maintain power in the face of external and internal threats brought about a drastic reversal of fortunes. Under the auspices of war communism, the Soviet government implemented policies of requisitioning grain and other agricultural products from the peasantry to feed the Red Army and support the war effort against the Whites and other counter-revolutionary forces. This heavy-handed approach led to widespread resentment and disillusionment among the peasants, who viewed it as a betrayal of the Bolsheviks' earlier promises of land reform and liberation. Open revolt. By 1920, the peasants' discontent had reached a boiling point, culminating in open revolt against the Soviet regime. Faced with mounting opposition in the countryside, the Bolsheviks responded with repression and violence, exacerbating the cycle of conflict and distrust. Peasant uprisings erupted across rural Russia as villagers took up arms against the Soviet authorities in defense of their land and livelihoods. The Red Army was deployed to quell the rebellions, leading to bloody confrontations and further alienating the peasantry from the Bolshevik cause. Legacy and lessons learned. The failure of the Bolsheviks to fulfill their promises to the peasantry and the subsequent loss of rural support would have profound implications for the course of the Russian Revolution and the trajectory of Soviet history. The events of 1920 served as a stark reminder of the perils of revolutionary zeal and the challenges of governing in the midst of civil strife and social upheaval. The Bolsheviks struggle to reconcile their revolutionary ideals with the harsh realities of governance would shape the course of Soviet politics for decades to come, leaving a lasting legacy of ambivalence and distrust between the state and the peasantry.